All right. All right, all right, all right, all right. Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? Oh, my goodness. Lordy mercy. Hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. Hope all is going well. Well, brother, I'll check your text message a little later. Got quite a bit going on. We got a special guest waiting in the wings. I see he made it in, and not quite soon enough to do a sound check, so I hope everything flies like it's supposed to, you know what I mean? You just never know. But hopefully this isn't going to treat me like wire crash, and everything will function as required. That's what I'm hoping everything will happen. So, going to start off with bringing in Lloyd, the grumpy vlogger, and let's get this show on the road.
Hello, Mel. Hello, everybody in the chat.
Howdy, Lloyd. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? You doing all right? I know you moved a bunch of furniture and stuff. That's young man's work.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to get right into it.
Well, I did a little bit, but not a lot. I did a little bit. My son did most of it.
Well, there you go. It's always good to have that cheap labor. Jody, first one in the chat tonight. Art, Brandon, friend of mine from the RC car world. Crawlers and pull trucks and race cars and all that kind of stuff. We collaborate on a lot of things. Okie Tom, hello. And of course, Lloyd, I can't seem to shake that guy. Jody's here. Dustin, South Illinois Aerial. Drone Life RC, how you doing, buddy? Okie Tom, hello. Good to see you. Of course, my dad and brother are watching. And then Chris can only stay a bit. Bought a house and getting a mess cleaned up for septic guys coming out tomorrow to locate and pump the tank. Well, they ought to know exactly where it's at. It's kind of amazing how they know that stuff. But good to see you, Chris. Thanks for coming in. Haven't talked to you in a while. We need to get hooked up. Ron Lockwood, Michael Blade, Mr. Stay Drunk. Hello, Grant. Thank you for coming in tonight. We got a lot we're going to talk about. I got a really cool guest waiting in the background. If you notice, I changed the hashtag on the well, it probably doesn't show yet. It probably won't show till it posts, but I changed it from the FAA is not your friend, or is your friend, to the FAA is not your friend for now, but I'm going to change it to the FAA is not the enemy, because they're really not the enemy. They're just the messenger, you know, when it comes right down to it. What was that, Lloyd?
Say it. Never mind. Just never mind.
Okay. A few things that we're going to talk real briefly, a couple things we're going to talk briefly with our wonderful guest for tonight. It seems that, and I could be speaking out of school, I hope not, I usually try not to do that, but it seems like some of the officials in our neighboring country to the north don't appear to have to follow the same regulations that they force on the wee mini people, because out of all the things that do happen with drones, and they do happen, I mean, folks fly into trees because they're looking at the screen instead of the drone sometimes, and, you know, I mean, there's a bumper sticker, I think shit happens, right? So things like that do happen. FPV guys, I don't know how they do it. I don't do it personally. I do fly a little bit of FPV. I got a little 5-inch quad that I fly now and then, but they strap a $500 or $600 GoPro camera on the top of it and then send it through the air at 70, 80 mile an hour and then cry when they break the camera. It's like, why? If you're going to put the camera on there, don't cry that you broke it. And if you're worried about breaking it, don't put it on there. It's pretty simple to me. I don't know. I tease them about that all the time.
Makes sense.
But Yeah, the Canadian folks up there, they've got all these kind of stringent rules where you got to have special licensing, I think, to fly a hobby drone or a commercial drone or this or that. But yet it seems as though the officials don't perhaps exactly follow all the rules that the little people are supposed to follow, because that I know of, actual proven drone versus aircraft collisions recently have only happened in Canada, and both times it's been the Canadian police drone that crashes into a manned aircraft, which is just not cool. Our guest tonight, Bruce from XJet. Hey Bruce, welcome to the show, friend.
Well, thanks very much. Is the audio okay?
It's wonderful. I knew it would be. Your stuff works and my stuff works. So I like to make it sound like it's going to be a train wreck when it happens. Hello, Maddie. Welcome. So have you heard any more about that story about the RCMP drone that hit the Cessna 172 that was being flown by a student pilot, in fact?
Yeah, it sounds very much like it's going to be the same whitewash as we had when the RCMP drone hit the RCMP helicopter. I think it'll be bad things have happened, but there's nothing to see here move along. It's the one set of rules for us, one set of rules for you, and that kind of hypocrisy really rubs me up the wrong way. If the police themselves should be held to a higher standard than the people and the average member of the public, but that's never the case, is it?
It seems that way, doesn't it? It seems like the higher you get in the food chain, the less the food chain affects you. You know, it's kind of interesting.
I see also there was another incident where an airline or a small commuter airliner apparently had a drone on takeoff. It was Emirates or something like that. It was reported as a drone strike, but it turns out it was yet another case where it was a balloon. It was a shopping bag in Heathrow when a jet pilot or an airline pilot announced they'd hit a drone on takeoff, and this time it was a Mylar helium balloon. So the media is so quick to report any incident as a drone, when in reality drones are not the problem. When our drones aren't the problem anyway.
For the most part, that's true. They're just not, and like I love your videos because you always talk about hard facts. Where is the documentation that says this caused that? And they never have it. It just isn't there. And the safety record for pretty much all levels of commercial multi-rotor pilots. I do real estate stuff. I do private hire stuff. I've done power line stuff. Hobbyist. I don't fly my drone unless I plan on putting it on my YouTube channel of some sort, so I don't fly under hobby regulations or rules in any way, shape, or form, because my intent, there we go with that magic word, is I'm shooting footage for my YouTube channel. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's my intent at the time of the flight, so technically that makes it 107 under USA rules. But what gets me is all of these things that are going on are not things being caused by little Johnny that's his buddies talk him into seeing how high his new drone from the toy store will go.
No, you did, right. And the other thing is that when you're doing any kind of commercial operation, you've got to do a risk assessment, you've got to analyse the dangers and create mitigations for any possible risks. Yet the regulators themselves have failed to do any kind of risk assessment. They demand it of us, but we can't demand it of them. It seems to me that the most important thing in this whole situation is having appropriate regulation. I'm not an anti-regulation guy. I'm an anti-bad regulation guy. And the thing is that they have come up with all these rules. Most of the people making the rules have never really flown a drone, perhaps more than a few moments in their life. They're not avid drone enthusiasts, so they don't understand all the deep ins and outs. But they're going to make rules that tell us what to do and how to do it safely, yet they expect us to do more when we're flying, do our risk assessments. They're not doing one. I mean, it's hypocrisy. The hypocrisy of bureaucrats and politicians runs very deep, and that really annoys me. It's one of the reasons I have a little crusade to try and make the whole regulatory framework a little more practical and remove this regulatory overreach. They seem to think, well, people aren't following the rules. Let's make more rules. And that's not going to work. I mean, they're that stupid. They don't even see that.
It's the same with gun control. Let's make more rules about gun control. And it's not the people that follow the rules aren't the ones that cause the problems. You know, it's the people that think they're above the rules or say, screw the rules, I'm going to do what I want to do. Yeah, I know what the rules are, and I know I'm not supposed to do this according to the rules, but I don't give a shit. I'm going to do what I want. And there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of GPS or camera drones and a huge portion of FPV pilots that feel that way.
Yeah, exactly. That is the problem. The thing is that for the rules to work, they have to be complied with. You have to have compliance. The only way you get compliance is to earn the respect of the people who you are regulating. If you just come out with ridiculous rules that are obviously overreach, people are just going to ignore them because they know how stupid they are, even if the regulator doesn't. What you need to do is engage in a dialogue and produce rules that are appropriate and proportional to risk. And that's where the regulators have failed, because they haven't done a risk assessment, so they haven't actually identified the risks and they haven't quantified them, so they cannot make proportional rules if they don't know what they're doing like that.
Absolutely spot on and totally impossible for them to do. And just like the thing of you know,
I'll be right back, Neil.
Okay, Lloyd, the micro drones, you know, below treetop level in your own backyard, you know, that there should be no regulation controlling that flight whatsoever, as long as you follow the two basic things of don't endanger people or don't endanger property. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's worked so well in Canada. I mean, the Canadian rules for sub 250, those are the rules. There's no prescriptive regulation, just don't endanger people or property. And I've not heard of a single incident in Canada where anyone has been injured, killed, or property's been damaged by a sub 250 gram craft. That's working really well. You could extend that, I think, to 500 grams, maybe even to the 1 kilogram category, because again, we haven't seen anybody killed by these things. We haven't seen anyone really badly injured, and we haven't seen massive property damage. So again, it speaks to the regulatory overreach that we're enduring.
I absolutely 100% agree. It's just completely out of control and out of touch. It's more out of touch than it is out of control.
Well, it speaks to other agendas too. I mean, we think that because you look at FAA and all the regulators, they use the word safety quite liberally. Everywhere they talk safety. But when you look closely at it, like the latest NPRM, the Remote ID rule in the USA, that has actually been driven by DHS, Department of Homeland Security. They're the ones driving that. Even the FAA have sort of said, well, it's not necessary, but Department of Homeland Defense have come in and said, you know, we need this for the security of the nation. And yet they haven't provided any proof, because we know that if someone is going to be a bad actor and going to do something bad with a drone, they're not going to register it. They're not going to fit a remote ID.
Exactly.
So, again, you say they're going to affect the rule abiding, and they're not the problem. That's
exactly right. Hello, Tammy. Hello, Bob. You know, it was the same thing in I'm going to say 89, 90 time frame. At that time, I was a resident of California, and California was the first state to incorporate this new commercial driver's license system that was supposed to be a nationwide system, nationwide database, to prevent truck drivers from getting too many tickets in one state, so they just go to another state, get another Class A license, and keep on trucking. And that was supposed to end that. And the way they pitched it to everybody was, this commercial driver's license is going to make the truck driver safer on the road. And I failed to understand how the title on the card in my wallet, whether it said Class A or commercial, is going to make me a safer driver. I drive the way I drive, regardless of what that piece of paper in my pocket says. You know, I just... So it's the same concept. It's like, how is this going to make anybody safer? Because the people that are flying safe and having a good time and doing what they're supposed to do, for the most part within reasonable limits, are not the ones causing the problems.
Exactly, and it's not thought out well either, because if it's supposed to be about safety, then with this new remote ID, a broadcast remote ID, you're going to be telling the public, all the Karens and all the people that want to assault you and steal your stuff, you're going to be telling them where you're standing while you're flying your drone. And they haven't even thought it through far enough to say, well, we might encrypt that information and only make it available to law enforcement. No, we're going to make it available to everybody, so you become a target because you're distracted, you're flying your drone.
In the defense of that, they are saying that it's not supposed to be able to be public knowledge. It's only supposed to be able.
Your ID is not supposed to be, your name in that's not supposed to be public knowledge, but where you are standing is part of the public broadcast stream.
Well, none of that is supposed to be public broadcast. It's supposed to be only law enforcement and government officials are supposed to be able to get that information, is the way that it is here in the U.S.
Well, the last I heard, you're going to have an app on your phone, and anyone could download the app because it's using Wi-Fi for the communications link. Anyone can download the app and see how high the drone is, where it's located, and where the operator is located. And that's been the biggest complaint by virtually everyone that's can get their own safety. And
when it first came out, when remote ID was first being talked about, they were talking about everybody in the drone community and everything was talking about, well, somebody just gets the app, and so that turned into a great big story. But the bottom line is it's not even going to be an app that's used probably, and it's going to be it's supposed to be only available to law enforcement and government officials. The general public, John Q, is not supposed to be able to get a hold of that information at all. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. The last Q&A that the FAA held, when challenged, what are you going to do to mitigate the risk of people being attacked if they're flying and that information is broadcast publicly? They said, call the police. If you get attacked, call the police. That was their only response.
Oh.
Thinking, well, why don't you just remove that way of people locating you?
Yeah. Well, I that would be good. Hello, Tater. It shouldn't be. They shouldn't be able to be found. JS, hello. The thing is the part that bothers me the most is the possible dangers that could come about. There's a lot of states, and I don't know how New Zealand is, but there's a lot of states in the United States that our United States Constitution allows us the freedom to keep and bear arms, to protect ourselves and our personal property and our family and others if necessary. And a lot of states don't require a safety course and a actual card permit in your wallet to say that you're legal to carry. They use the constitutional. We call it constitutional carry. Oklahoma is one where Lloyd is that just went constitutional carry. Tennessee just went constitutional carry. That's my home state currently. And I have the permit. So I'm double covered so that if I travel outside of Tennessee to a state that does not recognize constitutional carry, but they do allow carry permits, then I'm legal to carry in that state. But my point is there's a lot of people that, if attacked and provoked, especially if the person has a baseball bat or a knife or a gun, they're liable to get shot. I mean, the whole thing of being able to track down the pilot could, here we use that magic word again, right? I know that's your favorite word, and that's why I went with this, could turn into a very, very nasty situation. Say what you say on that.
Yeah, I mean, like that, it's not going to make things better, put it that way. And interestingly enough, here in New Zealand, we have this sort of, we're a bit like the UK, well, guns are bad. The philosophy is guns are bad, even though we have some of the highest gun ownership rates in the world. They've recently banned all semi-automatic centerfire guns, and it's like that we're going down the same road as other countries where only the criminals will have guns because it's safer, apparently.
Yep. That's exactly right. And then, so what's the first thing that happens when something goes bad? It's recommended that you call the police. So what are you doing? You're calling someone with a gun, and then you're praying that they get there quick enough. You know what I mean?
Well, no, the worse than that. If you're going to be flying a drone, you've got a smartphone on a transmitter there. If someone comes up and decides they want your phone, well, they'll just take your phone. How are you going to call the police?
Well, there you go. There's another good point. It's just, the whole thing is just, it's designed to get the skies taken away. It's designed to get the keys to the skies taken away from everyone that doesn't pay to play, so to speak.
Yeah, they're going to take away our freedom and sell it back to us as a privilege.
Yep, and they do that. They do that quite frequently with a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I've been telling people this ever since they first mooted registration in the USA all those years ago, and I said, don't register, do not register. It's the thin end of a very nasty wedge, and if you capitulate and you show that you're willing to do whatever that you're told to do, they will just keep pushing that wedge further and further in, and eventually you'll pay to fly. And I think it's pretty damn clear that that is the end game now.
Oh, exactly. And it's just like Dan just said, drone worship. Most of the FPV quads are small, lightweight. They're not burdened down with extra equipment that would be, the remote ID transmit stuff. They're just not going to use it. They're just going to fly anyway,
Yeah, well, I think civil disobedience is the only tool that you really have. I was very disappointed knowing how much Americans worship their freedoms and their rights. I was so disappointed to see that over 1 million people registered when asked to do so by the FAA. And also, you notice there's a very interesting thing. John Taylor took a legal action against the FAA and said, you cannot force us to register. And in fact, he won in the courts. And you'd think, fantastic. But as we know, you can never beat the man that makes the rules, because the response of government was, we just changed the rules. And now they legally can force you to register. And so you can't rely, because people say, you should use the system to fight these things. And my response is, use the system by all means, but do not rely on the system, because the system is always rigged to support the man, the powers that be. You cannot beat that. You can't beat the man who changes the rules in the middle of the game. So you have to use other methods. And I go back to like prohibition in the 1920s, 1930s, the way that basically was overcome was people just ignored the law. Speakeasies and bootleg liquor production. In fact, it made things, that when the government sees that people are ignoring their rules, they really say, we're made to look like fools, we better revoke that law.
Yeah, and then they stack on top of it sometimes and double down and try to make other things worse. Hello, Bliss.
Yeah,
Thanks for
that seldom works.
Exactly. I'm going to do a couple quick little shameless plugs here because it's the bottom of the hour. And when we come back in the second half, we'll talk about this latest video, and I've got it all queued up to play unless you just want to talk over it or talk about it, or we're just going to, this whole thing with the UTMs and all that, that's what the topic is for tonight. But I got sidetracked because I wanted to ask what you thought about the do as we say, not as we do mentality that we seem to be experiencing in some areas. So here's the deal, everybody. If you want to send a video link or any email to the channel, 400AGL uploads at gmail.com is the best way to do that. Now, granted, tonight there are no viewer videos because I'm not going to have time to mess with them, I don't think. But email, video links, whatever it is you like. Tell me if you like the show. Tell me you don't like the show. All email are welcome. 400AGL uploads at gmail.com. If you think you need to send a package, DJI, because I know sometimes you watch, even us little guys. P.O. Box 12, Holiday, Tennessee, 38341. And then I still haven't made a slide for my website, 400agl.net. But go to 400agl.net and you will find, I promise, a very nice link for a wonderful discount on Remote Pilot 101. Get your initial 107 certification, remotepilot101.com. $99, cheapest discount on the YouTube world. So that took care of that, all that nonsense. And you can buy hats and merchandise and things like that over there too, and I don't know. I ought to do more updates on that website. I don't mess with it enough. I ought to load up some stuff. And Lloyd's having trouble. Lloyd's a little fuzzy. I'll put my glasses on. Maybe that'll clear him up.
No, it won't. It won't.
So, if we can, let's go ahead, because I have a shot set up. If I can find it, figure out where I put it. I got it right here, where we're going to play this video, and I'm just going to let the video play, Bruce. And if you want to interject or interrupt, just let me know, and I will pause it. And
I'd never interrupt myself.
well, let's just see. Maybe you had other thoughts since you actually published this, but this is that video that you just put out about our wonderful friends of the interweb that everyone knows and some people love. Let's see if we can get this to play somehow, some way. Maybe.
There's no audio. That's a good thing.
Is the audio coming through?
No, I can't hear it anyway.
Nope.
No. And I can't remember what I said, so I can't mime to it. I can't do a voiceover.
Well, I'm trying to.
Oh, come on. Sure.
Let's see here. What did I do wrong? Oh, I know what it is. It's a capture instead of
audio button.
It's a capture instead of, so it's not. Darn it, I did it wrong, actually. I should not have done that as a screen capture. I should have done it. So I'm going to copy the link because I really want to get this in there. Create input, browser, Control V, set it up, and it's right here. And now I'll slide it over there, and I'm going to play with the settings.
Follow up on the video regarding the Google
and get this
Wing
set up
drone
here.
delivery service. A lot of feedback on that video. Go and read the comments. It's really interesting what people have to say. We've got people who have been part of the Wing operation chiming in, giving their point of view. We've got people who live in the area telling us how things are going. So it's really enlightening to read those comments. Go and look at them now before you watch the rest of this video. I think you'll find it well worth a few minutes of your time. But now I want to move a bit further forward, because I mentioned that Google really isn't in the game of drone delivery. Why are they running a drone delivery operation when they really have no intention to deliver stuff by drone? Well, it's about the end game. The end game is much bigger. Now, drone delivery is never going to be economically viable. That's worth a whole separate video, so it will be a separate video I'll be posting fairly shortly. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because you might miss it. Otherwise, I'm sure Google won't be promoting these videos to the general masses for obvious reasons. So, yeah, go and subscribe if you want to see what else is coming up on the subject. But the thing I want to look at today is the end game. Why are they investing all this money in a drone delivery business if that's not what they intend to do? Well, the answers become pretty clear when we look at a submission that Google made to New Zealand's Ministry of Transport. Now, the New Zealand Ministry of Transport recently published a discussion paper on enabling drone integration here in New Zealand. And they called for submissions from the public, from businesses, from local councils, from anyone that wanted to have an input. They said, well, just email us or send us in your submission. And of course, Google did. Google Wing sent in a submission. And I think it's worth taking a look at it. So here is that submission. They sent it in on Friday, the 4th of June, 2021. And let's have a look at some of the salient points, the key points. Let's look at the introduction. It's always a good place to start. It says, Wing welcomes the opportunity to respond to the Enabling Drone Integration consultation with the Ministry of...
Does Wing have a full name, or is that a synonym for something? Do you know?
No, that's what they call their Wing Aviation, I think they call it. They've got a YouTube channel, but basically it's just Wing. Yeah, and interesting enough, I mentioned about Google not promoting, or YouTube not promoting my video. I've had quite a few emails from regular subscribers who've said that this video did not appear in their feed. It was not. They had to go to my actual channel page to find this video. It didn't actually appear in the subscription feed. So I don't know if it's a widespread thing or just one of the usual glitches in the internet that occasionally strikes us, but maybe they are looking at it and going, well, we shouldn't actually let too many people watch this. And when I look at the analytics for this video, there's virtually none of the traffic has come from anywhere other than from my YouTube channel page and a few of the notifications.
Ah, interesting. Because yeah, it was on my notification list. I usually get all of yours. Okay, let's tune back in and see what you got to say about all this.
Transport, the consultation represents an important step forwards in facilitating safe and responsible UAS operations at scale in New Zealand. Wing offers the following comments based on our experience as a UAS designer, manufacturer, operator, and UAS traffic management service provider on 3 continents. That's really important. This really just says basically this is their end game laid out in the first paragraph of their submission. They want.
That's what I like about that right there. You're spot on when you say it's the end game layout right there in the first paragraph.
Yeah, and it sort of couldn't be clearer, which is interesting because I noticed when they did their submission to the FAA's NPRM, they kind of steered away from the supporting the network remote ID idea, because I think they realized that it wasn't practical or viable at that stage, and they wanted to leave their push until they could provide a solution. And I think they're getting much closer to providing that solution now. So now they're making the push. So they've completely done a 180 since their submission on the FAA's NPRM for network remote ID. They changed very quickly, and you only you have to wonder, why have they done that about face?
Well, not only is it driven by revenue, like everything in the world is, but Google is probably one of, if not the only company that actually has, they're probably one of the top 5 or 10 that actually have the infrastructure in place able to create that database network, because they've already got all the computers set up,
Exactly. And this is, I looked at, why would Google go into the drone delivery business? I mean, it requires setting up warehouses and all sorts of physical assets that they don't have as part of their normal operation. Virtually all of Google's operations are racks of computers and software. That's what they provide, racks of computers and software for Gmail and YouTube and all the other, the Google Drive. It's all just racks of computers and software. Drone delivery requires drones, it requires landing spaces, takeoff spaces. It doesn't seem to be core business to Google. But if you look at a UTM, that's racks of computers and software. That's
absolutely.
So they're
a data center.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're in a position to just turn that on, and away they go. And in fact, as you'll see later in the video, they have already said, we've got these things going already. We've got them. We're using them. We're basically ready to go. So pick me.
Yep. And that really is what it boils down to. Let's get back into a little bit more of it here.
To be a UAS traffic management service provider. They want to provide a UTM and then use that UTM to become a service provider. And we'll see why that's important, and we'll see the inducements that they're offering governments. And honestly, let's cut, I'll call a spade, the bullshit that they're spewing out in order to try and convince politicians to let them have their way.
You're not really going to call a spade, are you?
I'd never do that.
So what they're doing, let's look at the background. Wing is an aviation company that enables the delivery of small packages by drone as a safer, everyone wants safety, right? As a safer, faster and cleaner alternative to pickup or delivery by road. Wing has developed a small, lightweight, 5 kilos, and highly automated aircraft, which means nobody's flying it, there's no visual observer, for safe deliveries to home, and a range of UTM capabilities to help diverse operators share the airspace. So they're saying, yeah, we're doing the UTM thing. We are already doing the UTM thing. We've got the experience. We've got the background. You can trust us.
So we've got the experience. We've got the background. We've got the capability. We've got the equipment. We've got the infrastructure. The only thing they're not saying is we've got your money. But soon they'll be saying that too.
We are the best qualified people on the planet to deliver this service. But the whole thing is a sales pitch, and they've been very clever. The people who've designed this little document have thought ahead. They've thought of every objection and every challenge that any government might have to awarding the keys to the airspace to Google, and they've countered them before they've even been challenged by them. As we see, they've already put in place the inducements and the ways that they're going to convince governments that this is the best option for them, and that's really what this document's all about, selling this to government.
It is 100% what it's all about. And the trouble is the way that it's worded. If you just sit and read the story, the average person is going to think, geez, this is fantastic, right?
Yeah, and politicians don't even meet the grade of average in most cases, so they're more easily fooled than most people. And even so, we've got to realise that almost half of the population has a below average IQ, and this is why these things manage to be pulled over the bull pulled over their eyes. They're not really looking at things closely enough. There's not enough scrutiny goes on.
And not enough, not enough scrutiny, not enough fact checking. They just go ahead and believe whatever somebody tells them on the TV set or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
And the media serves us very poorly in this regard. Look at all the drone stories. Like I say, that airliner that supposedly hit a drone on takeoff. The pilot said, "I think I hit a drone." It was reported across the world's media as airliner hits drone. It wasn't. Yeah. Airliner thinks it hits drone. The media is working against us, and the media doesn't fact check a thing. Now, the press release, the video before this that I did, which had the Google promotional video, the media did not check any facts. They just took that press release at face value and published it, used it as a basis for a story, might have added a few little bits and pieces, threw a byline on it, put it up as fact. That's not the way you do journalism. I was a journalist many years ago, and we were taught basically, take nothing at face value. Always research, get two sources of verification for any claims that are being made, so you can present your story in the full knowledge that it is factual and not just some spin or hype that some marketing agency has thrown at you. In this case, the media doesn't do that anymore. The media just takes whatever you give them and puts it up because it's quick, it's cheap, it's easy, and it gets eyeballs on ads and they make money. It's all about
or they create their own opinion about what it is.
Yeah. And they often don't clearly label it as opinion, but it is opinion.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Okay, back to the show. And feel free to chime in anytime you want.
Of the future. This is drones delivering stuff to your house. This is apparently what's going to happen. They go on to extol their own virtues again, saying Wing provides commercial drone delivery services on 3 continents. Well, actually, they don't. They don't, because their drone delivery service is being provided for free. That's not the basis for a commercial operation. You cannot give stuff away. I could make an incredibly successful commercial operation giving away $5 notes, but it's not a sustainable business model. And that's exactly what Google are doing. Wing are giving away drone deliveries, giving them away. Of course, people are going to lap that up. Oh, there's 100,000th delivery due very shortly because it's free, and everybody loves free. If it's free, I'll have 2. But they don't say that. They say it's a commercial drone delivery service. It's not. It is a giveaway. It is a freebie, and of course freebies don't count really. Today Wing provides commercial drone delivery services on 3 continents.
The media has reported that this is a commercial drone delivery service. They have not checked and said, well, how much are they charging for the drone delivery service? And I checked, and I got the information back from people who are using the service. It's free. You just sign up, and it doesn't cost you anything. You just pay the price of the product. Google delivers it for free. So that is not a commercial delivery service. That is a free trial, and that's a totally different thing. You cannot make money out of a free trial.
The only thing they have to do in theory is fly under federal regulations for commerce, because they are carrying commerce product that does not belong to them. It belongs to someone else because someone else bought and paid for that product or item.
Yeah, and
so now they're in the business of commerce, because now they're transporting other people's items.
Yes, but interesting enough, they don't have to abide by the rules and regulations that we have to abide by when we fly our drones. They can fly over people, over property. They can fly without a visual observer, beyond visual line of sight. And we've been told time and time again by the regulators that you must have a visual observer if you're flying FPV, because you have a lack of situational awareness. When you put the goggles on, you can't see as well as you should because you've got no line of sight. Yet, I've been informed by somebody who is actually part of the staff of Google Wing, before they resigned, that the drones they're using don't have any cameras on them. So the person who operates them sits in a dark room with one screen that has a map overlay showing the drones on a map, and another screen that has an ADS-B receiver that shows them if there's any manned aircraft coming into the area. They have no visual image of the many drones. They can operate several drones from one operator, so they got one person flying several drones without any visual awareness, with very little situational awareness. And these are 5 kilogram drones, not a Mavic Air or a Mavic Mini. They're 5 kilogram drones over people's property, over their heads, around people when they're landing, and that's apparently safe because money. Whereas if we try and do that with a 500-gram drone, we've got to have the visual observer, and we can't fly in all these various places. If you want to fly over people, you have prop guards on. This thing's got 12 vertical lift motors with no prop guards. The rules, again, it's one set of rules for you, another set for somebody else. This is a far higher risk operation than any recreational flight, yet they're allowed to do it for, we're not.
I absolutely 100% agree with all of that. It's astounding. It really is. Back to the show for a few more minutes.
With operations in Australia, Finland, and the United States, Wing has completed tens of thousands of delivery flights to customers in 4 cities, including 2 capital cities, Helsinki and Canberra. I think the Canberra trial was canned because they all complained about the noise. Anyway, Wing operates commercially beyond visual line of sight. We can't. Over populated areas. We can't. Along flexible routes, which generally means roadways. We can't. With one fleet manager supervising multiple aircraft. Now, we need 2 people to fly a 500-gram recreational drone by FPV. You need 2 people to fly a toy drone FPV. You've got to have the pilot and the visual observer. But Google gets to have multiple drones operated by one person in a darkened room who doesn't even have an FPV camera on those drones.
And, not to mention all of that, not being able to see at all, he's relying solely on, I'm going to presume, anti-collision software that we all know is 100% effective. And he's flying more than one aircraft at once, which we all know is against the rules for us little people, right? Not supposed to fly more than one. You're supposed to, even if you're the pilot in command and you have a secondary pilot as the person manipulating the sticks, according to the text, you as PIC are still required to be able to take that controller away and take control of the aircraft the same way you're required to take control of the vehicle if you have a student driver in the driver's seat. So I can just imagine, that always baffled me. That's the simplest example that I can think of. It has always baffled me. Someone like me, you, maybe Lloyd, maybe many of us, with, I've got millions, being a 40-year veteran of the truck driving world, millions of miles behind me, not hundreds of thousands or thousands like the average driver. Insurance companies say the average driver is 15,000 miles a year, 10 years, 150,000 miles, 20 years is 300,000 miles, okay? That's a drop in the bucket compared to the miles that I have behind me in reading traffic and predicting what other drivers are going to do and all the things that go into safely operating a motor vehicle. If I'm in the right seat and a 16-year-old kid gets like Lloyd and goes, ah! How in the hell am I supposed to take 100% safe control of that vehicle from the passenger seat? I mean, really? I don't think.
The other thing is, one of their primary deconfliction tools is ADS-B. So they've got a computer there that's monitoring ADS-B, and if a plane flies into the area, what they can do is safely land the drone. Well, I don't know how you can safely land the drone if you can't see what's beneath you, because it may show on the map that this is an open area. There could be kids playing with balls or something there, and who knows what happens. The other thing is, if ADS-B is sufficient to deconflict the airspace, then surely if I'm using my little ADS-B alarm, I should also be allowed to fly beyond visual line of sight.
And you know what? I would love for you to send me one of those. I wish I had one. Now that you mention it. Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I don't know. So the whole thing is just ridiculous. It's all about money.
Dre wants to know what altitude these flights are taking place, or will they take place when they get to, are they flying in our airspace or above 400 feet?
I think 60 or 70 meters or something they were flying, so they're below 400 feet.
Yeah, 60 meters.
Airspace. That's why they want our airspace, let's be honest.
60 to 70 meters is about the 200 to 225 foot in the U.S. Because 120 is...
You can have a second steering wheel.
Yeah, that's in those driver's ed school cars, in those fancy ones. I'm talking about
Right.
Joe over here that lives next door to Lloyd, going to teach his new 16-year-old how to drive his pick-em-up truck through Tulsa and Broken Arrow and, you know, Oklahoma City and all that.
Right.
So, but yeah, the whole thing is just, like I said, everybody, the FAA is not the enemy, but they are not our friend. The people that want control of the airspace are the people with all the money. The people that control the airspace are the two branches of government that protect us. One is the Department of Defense, the other is Department of Homeland Security. Those are the two governmental agencies that control our airspace. The FAA is simply the messenger. That's all they are, is the messenger.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind some of these regulations if they were only honest about why they're implementing them, because they've used this safety thing over and over again. It's all about safety, safety, safety. Yet when we see what they're letting Google do, it's obviously not about safety at all. If they're going to say, well, we need to have this remote ID system because we need to know where you are at all times for whatever reason, instead of saying, oh, it's all about safety. You know, and then I don't like being lied to about the justification for something. And if you have to lie about the justification for something, then you're obviously unsure that your justification is adequate.
Exactly. It's really, it really is just out and out, point blank lying to the public.
One thing that has to be remembered is, in a democracy, these people work for us. They're not there to tell us what to do. They're there to serve us. They're public servants. Their responsibility is to acknowledge and implement the wishes of the people. And I think that's why we've had this concerted media campaign to vilify drones. It's been helped by the FAA themselves, who have said it's only a matter of time before a drone brings down an airliner or something. The fear and uncertainty has been fomented by the FAA and other branches saying, listen, this is dangerous. These are dangerous, these damn drones. We need to do something to control them. Again, it is misinformation. It is a lie about why they're doing what they're doing. But
sure it is.
There's so much going on here that it's very difficult for us to fight back. But it speaks to the bigger problem, which is the people in control are not doing their jobs as representatives in a democratic situation. We are no longer having public servants that are our servants. They are our lords and master. And that is an unacceptable situation. It's getting worse in the EU. I don't know if you're aware of it. As of next year in the EU, your car, new vehicles made after 2022, that's new models of vehicles, will have to have an onboard system that is able to read speed limit signs and is GPS aware so that it can warn you when you're breaking the speed limit on whatever road you're on. And it will have to log that data. So this is like Big Brother is now in your car. And if you're going to exceed the speed limit, you'll get a warning, but it's not going to stop you from exceeding the speed limit. It will only warn you and log the data. So you can guarantee that when you go and get your next vehicle check or whatever, that data will be downloaded to a central computer. You get a whole lot of fines in the mail,
Sure.
Why do we need to... We're treating everybody as if they are criminals, and one of the basic tenets of a justice system is everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty. That's been tipped on its head these days.
And I'll tell you another thing is it's not going to be when you take your car to get serviced and all the data is downloaded, because they already have in place in many types of vehicles where the vehicle communicates with the manufacturer's factory 7/24. This is something that Volvo commercial vehicles did many, many years ago. A buddy of mine bought a brand new Volvo, and I'm going to pull a year out of my head, 2000. And 8 weeks after he got his brand new truck, Volvo called him on the phone and said, we need you to bring your truck into the shop. And he was like, what's wrong with my truck? It's running great. I just pulled a hill at 65 miles an hour that I should have been doing 30. And they said, that's why we need you to bring your truck to the shop. And they put a new motor in his truck, because that one was apparently an experimental motor that got left in a truck and actually got sold at the truck show that wasn't supposed to be sold to the general public.
With this
So,
technology,
yeah,
we've
The
been out
fact
there
that
for
they knew
years.
that he had that.
They called him and said, hey, we need you to bring your truck. So I have no doubt that the higher end cars, especially, Cadillac, Mercedes, Volvo, whoever, they probably already got
Had a
the
question.
communications that
Yeah.
sends the data directly already.
Yeah. The difference being is that
I
at the
got a
moment it
question.
sends it back to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Someone talking?
who owns the GPS? Yeah,
What-
me. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who owns
You
the
mean-
GPS satellite system?
Well, that's the U.S. government, isn't it?
You mean the satellites that are in the sky?
If the, that are in the sky that we use for our GPS for our drones
Some of them are government owned and some are privately owned.
But there's other systems as well. There's Baidu
But
in China,
who owns
and
the-
there's the Galileo in Europe.
right. But the general GPS system that we all use here in the States, all of that software was developed by the government in the first place for their aircraft, for their fighter aircraft.
Yeah, it was military technology.
So
the
if they
interesting
can-
thing, though, is it,
Yeah,
at
all
the
that
moment,
stuff
that
kind of trickles
information-
down, yeah.
Yeah, but that information that your truck's reporting back, it's going back to Volvo. It's not going back to the government. It's going back to Volvo. And it's the same with like Tesla. Their cars are always being updated overnight. That data goes back to Tesla. The change that's happening in the EU is that data will probably be going back to the government. And that's a different thing. Tesla have a right to know what's happening to my car because they want to keep it up to date and so forth. But the government doesn't need to know where I was at 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
True.
Because this is tracking me and logging my every movement. And that's the thing that
And-
concerns me most.
And my argument about, say, like the Tesla is, like what you just said, they have the right to know to keep the car in top working condition. No, they don't have the right to know. That's an option that I should be able to give them or not give them. When they make the car
The thing
payment,
is that-
then they can have the right. Until then, it's mine. Is how I
In that
would look
respect,
at it.
Tesla's a very bad player. The whole right to repair thing, Tesla are really against that. And the thing is, that Tesla will say, well, if you don't want us to know what you're doing, don't buy our cars. That's generally the response. It's like politicians. They say, if you're not happy with what we're doing, vote us out at the next election. That's their sole level of accountability. They're not accountable on a day-to-day basis, and so
Exactly.
they can do whatever the hell they like.
Exactly.
And of course, just before elections, they throw out all the little goodies and sweets and things to attract the votes, and then they go back to their old ways after they've got back in. It's when you've been around as long as me. I mean, you young guys probably don't know this, but when you've been around as long as me, you see this happening time and time again, and it's a wisdom that comes with age. And I think young people are just not aware, a lot of them, of just how bad things really are. And that's why people look at old people and say, "Oh, you're just a cynical old man." And the reality is, no, we've just been around long enough to see this happen so many times. We know how it works.
We call it experience, right?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. And you said young. I appreciate the compliment, but I'm probably close to your age anyway, so.
And I'm not far behind you. I'm on both y'all's heels.
Yeah.
So here we are. I
But I
hope
appreciate
that
the compliment of being called young.
I hope that everybody enjoyed the conversation tonight. Bruce, that link I sent you in that email, that link will stay valid indefinitely. So, and I know you come in the chat once in a while and say hello and whatnot. If we're on a topic or if there's something you want to bring up to the folks that watch me on a weekly basis, feel free to just pop in and say hello, and we'll have a visit.
Yeah, no worries. I'm locked down at the moment, so I've got nothing but time on my hands.
Oh, yeah, that's another government overreach thing we could talk about, but that's another day.
It's another story.
Are they going door to
Save
door?
that for my show.
Are they going door to door there in New Zealand to make sure people are staying in their house?
Oh yeah, they have this wagon that comes around. It's got "Bring out your dead" written on the side, and they paint crosses on your door. It's all, it's like the times of the plague. It's fantastic.
Wow.
Not really, but
Well, you saw how it was like.
I think that only
Wow.
happens. I think that only happens in Victoria, Australia.
and I've got to admit though, since I got both jabs of the vaccine, my phone's getting much better reception.
Is it really?
I think it's 5G.
Yeah, well, I've been hearing
hearing
voices in my head. Yeah.
Pretty amazing. You
I'm
know,
just waiting for the. I'm waiting for the overnight firmware update that turns me into a COVID zombie. I'm sure that'll be soon.
Yep, absolutely. And another interesting thing, you know, it's kind of funny. A friend of mine, he's coming up on his. We're going to run long. He's coming up on his 3rd wedding anniversary, and apparently that's leather. So I recently made a leather laser engraved sign to put up down at the store, and
Not a GIMP mask or anything.
nah. So he, although I did make some suggestions for him,
I figured you would.
he asked me if I would do a laser engraving on a piece of leather of an image. You know, I'm guessing it's something to do with their wedding for his wife. And I said, yeah, I can laser engrave something like that for you, you know, easily. Make sure it's just clean, plain leather, not already stained and shined and all that crap and treated that they do to it. It's just got to be pure, clear, clean leather. The light tan stuff, you know, and yeah, I can do it. And I said, what are you going to do with it? Just lay it on the table? Are you going to put it in a frame or what? He says, you know, I don't know. I want to do a frame of some sort. He said, but I don't. He said, I'm thinking maybe some leather lashing and lash it to a frame somehow. And I said, well, that's easy to do, Bob. I said, you go out in the backyard and you cut you some sticks and you lash them together like this and you make a frame and you sling this thing in between those sticks like they used to do with their hides back in the day to cure their hides. And he's like, man, that's a great idea. So I got a feeling I'm going to be making this whole thing for him. But it's kind of funny because,
Of course.
you know, I was like, well, all you got to do is go like this. And he was like, that's a great idea. So I got a feeling that's going to be a project coming up for me. What have you got coming up for you soon? Any little heads up tidbits you want to throw at us, Bruce?
Who, me? Yeah, just the anarchist's cookbook for basically avoiding all the regulation, over-regulation. There's going to be a call to action because people have to do something. You can't sit on your bum and just let things happen. For evil to prevail requires only that good men do nothing. So we've got to take some action on this.
Yep.
And I've been coming up with strategies and approaches because it's not fair for me to suggest that anyone breaks the rules and gets into trouble. I don't want to be responsible for fines or imprisonments or whatever. But there are some ways we can deal with this issue and show by our actions that we are not accepting of the impositions that are being placed on us and the freedoms that are being taken. So I'm coming up with a series of strategies and I'll be publishing some videos showing if you really are serious about protecting our hobby, this is what you should do and this is how you should do it. And you won't get into trouble, won't break the law, but this will send a very clear message to everybody. We've got to send it to the media, we've got to send it to the politicians and the bureaucrats that are making up these stupid rules and show them that, hey, we are not going to accept this and you don't need this because we're actually really safe people.
Sure, absolutely, 100% agree. Well, Bruce, thank you very much for on such short notice. An email 2 hours ahead of.
Always like associating with the young people these days, you know.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come in and say hello to us and spend so much time. And you're welcome
Absolutely,
on this stage anytime. I appreciate your opinion and your wisdom and your thought process that you put behind all that stuff. So, and I watch every one of your videos. I don't miss one.
I wondered who my viewer was. It's you.
Now you know. The truth has come out. The truth has come out. All right, Bruce, thank you very much, man. We'll see you next time.
No worries.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Lloyd, that takes care of that.
That was definitely interesting. It's very
Could no doubt easily go another whole hour, you know.
We probably could go a 3-hour show if we wanted to, but you know, and Bruce, he's a very knowledgeable.
Yes, Lon, they are. They are completely locked down. They are in COVID jail, overreached by their government. Yeah. But anyway, and that's coming here too, y'all. By the way, just so you know, the Delta variant. I seen a video that a nurse put out about a week ago. Now, maybe less or more. She said, by the way, y'all, this Delta variant that everybody's raving and worse than the first one and blah, 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 blah. She said, I'm in my medical outfit. She said, this is my job. And right now we don't even have a test for the Delta variant. So be careful what you get fed, folks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, it's whatever variant they've got here. I got to keep an eye on Judy, so what the hell's she up to?
Well, they'll
Anyway,
be creating things,
whatever it
you know.
is, yeah, but whatever it is, it's pretty deadly. It's either just gotten worse, and they're talking about there's a Lambda variant that is already been hit Los Angeles, and that's what they're dealing with in the Philippines now too. So
Yeah. Well, it's going to get worse.
I'm
And
watching Judy. I don't know what the hell she's doing.
It's intended
Yeah.
to cull the human population. But anyway, I'm not going to go on conspiracy
let's go
theory
back around
rides.
to here.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, I'm out of aluminum foil, Mel, so we can't do it tonight. I got to go. Literally, I got to go buy more foil tomorrow. I ran out the other day.
I got 3 rolls. You want me to send you a hat?
Yeah, go ahead and send me a hat. I need one.
All right, Lloyd, we'll see you. Thank you.
Okay.
You're doing your show tomorrow night, right?
Yes, I am doing my show tomorrow night. Hang on.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Perfect.
Yes, I'm doing my show. I got to go take care of my lovely wife, and you can do your closeout. Be prepared for probably a little bit more of a rant again tomorrow night. So.
Well, everybody look forward to seeing Lloyd tomorrow night. Thank you, Lloyd. Tell
Yeah,
Judy, hey.
so, all right. Thank you. All right. I will. Be kind. Treat each other better than you treat yourselves. And remember, old farts like us do matter.
See you later.
God bless. God help the USA. And I'm out of here.
There you go. That's the name of that, and I hit the wrong button, and I switched back over to that, and I need to switch to this. Actually, that's the wrong button, too. Dadgummit. Why can't I get the right button? Let's get this one going in here. That's the one I want. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the 5-minute countdown timer to wind this thing down. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Bruce, 3D print in aluminum. 3D print hat and paint it silver. Bruce over at XJet is quite a character. He's got a lot of good information. Puts a lot of thought and stuff into everything he does and what he says, and his aerial videos from the airfield. They're a lot of fun sometimes. The guys have a good time out there. So go check him out. If you're not already watching him, his link to his channel is in the description on this video. You could have been anywhere. You chose to be here, and I really, really do appreciate it, y'all. Have a good night, everybody.